Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Shifty's 49ers Talk. In today's video, we are going to do a preview for the Week 4 matchup, Arizona Cardinals visiting the San Francisco 49ers in Levi's Stadium in a big NFC West showdown. There's a lot to talk about in this video, so let's not waste any time and let's jump right in. The 49ers will be playing the second of 3 consecutive home games against the Arizona Cardinals, hosting them in Week 4. Now, let's take a look at how both of these teams have looked so far to start the season. The Arizona Cardinals, to me, entering the NFL year, were the worst team in the NFL. You look at their roster, they have some talented players, but overall, I had them as number 32. The first 2 weeks, not great, but also not bad. They put up a big fight against Washington. They were ahead massively against the New York Giants, and they threw that away. And then they get a huge win last week against the Dallas Cowboys, a win that I don't think anybody really saw coming. One of the biggest surprises of Week 3. They did it, and this season they've been dominating, running the football. James Conner's been really good. Joshua Dobbs making plays with his legs. A big thing too, and we're going to talk about a little bit later, but Joshua Dobbs not turning the ball over, being pretty efficient, not spectacular, but efficient with the ball, and the defense is playing just good enough to keep them in games, and they're a lot more competitive than what I thought. Now, if we go to the San Francisco 49ers, through 3 weeks, we've looked great. Of the 12 quarters played, I think about 10, 11 quarters, we've looked really, really good. Week 1, we destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers. Week 2, the first half, very close with the LA Rams. We're tied at halftime, and then we pull away in the second half after some halftime adjustments, especially by Steve Wilks. Week 3, the scoreline was pretty close for a while, but I do think the Niners were able to handle and always seemed in control of the game against the New York Giants, and we've just been consistently good, consistently scoring 30 points. Now, when we look at this matchup, one of the things that we want to take a look at are some of the key players who will be missing this game. And for the Arizona Cardinals, there's a couple of big names who are out. Kyler Murray is not going to be playing. He's on IR. The earliest he can come back is next week. I would suspect that it's going to be a little bit later. Joshua Dobbs is playing decent football. No need to rush Kyler Murray back. They're also missing star safety Budda Baker. Budda Baker is someone who has definitely had his run-ins with George Kittle over the years, is a really good safety, so that's a big loss for them. Some players who might be out for them are a couple of edge players and linebackers. Zaven Collins, a former first-round pick, he could be out for the game, and also Chris Barnes could be out for the game. I thought both of those guys played pretty darn well against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, coming up next, I want to talk about 3 key players for the Arizona Cardinals. The 3 key players or players to keep an eye on throughout the Week 4 game. We're going to start off on offense, and it's the quarterback Joshua Dobbs. He was acquired by Arizona just weeks before the season, and all things considered, I think he's looked really, really good. Looked fairly composed in the game against a good Dallas defense, was able to make some plays with his legs, made some decent throws, and you look at him on the year, 72% completion rate, 550 yards, so he's not lighting it up. He's under 200 yards a game, but a key thing here is no interceptions, and he has 2 touchdowns. Also, you add in the fact that he can run with the ball. On the year, 93 rushing yards. He has a rushing touchdown. He's fumbled the ball twice. I believe only lost it once. So overall, he's being careful with the ball. He's being efficient, and that's really all the Arizona Cardinals could ask of a guy like Joshua Dobbs. Now, we saw it last week. The Niners did a really good job of not letting Daniel Jones make any big plays with his legs. We're going to have to do something similar again this week. Joshua Dobbs is a little bit more of a thrower. I don't think he's really a runner as much as Daniel Jones, but we saw it against Dallas. They had a couple of really nice read option plays, and if he sees the defense being incredibly aggressive, trying to stop James Conner, he's going to just fake the handoff, keep it himself, and try and pick up a whole chunk of yards. So we have to be disciplined. You want to keep a guy, just their eyes on Joshua Dobbs at all times. And I think that's going to be a key moving forward in this game for the 49ers. I think we can do it. We did it really well last week against Daniel Jones. Now, the second guy that I want to talk about is going to be James Conner, the running back. He has had a really big time year. So far through 3 games, 266 rushing yards. That's good for number 4 in the NFL. 5.2 yards per carry average, which is really, really good. If you're getting above 4.55 yards a carry, that is near elite level. Will he maintain that? We'll have to wait and see, because the Niners rush defense is really good, and we're going to have to be really good on Sunday to slow down James Conner. I was so impressed with how they ran all those really successful outside zones against the Dallas Cowboys. They identified a weakness in the Cowboys defense, and they were able to exploit it and maintain decent possession of the ball. Also, James Conner, he has 2 touchdowns on the year, and I think that he's just one of those guys who's just so solid. They're really working the game plan around him and trying to get him into space, get him into successful positions, and they've been doing a really good job. Who would have thought James Conner, number 4 leading rusher in the NFL so far this season? Now, for the third player, let's move to the defensive side of the ball. And the guy that I want to talk about is going to be Kaiser White. Now, this guy has looked really, really good so far. He's their leading tackler. He has a sack. He has an interception. He has multiple tackles for loss. And I think why this guy is such a key player is, of course, being the leading tackler. He's flying all over the field, but I think he's going to be the guy who's going to be tasked with, having to cover George Kittle over the middle. Or if we see CMC, go on those routes, is it going to be White who's going to have to cover Christian McCaffrey? So he's going to be a key guy. Can he and the other linebackers, of course, and maybe some safety help too, can they slow down this 49ers offense? The Niners offense has looked really good, really efficient so far this year, and White and a lot of other players too, they are going to have to step up and have a big-time game, because the 49ers can attack you in so many different ways. We're just so versatile. There's so many different weapons who can just get you from any position, any play, and that's what makes it so hard to play against the 49ers. But keep an eye out for linebacker Kaiser White of the Arizona Cardinals, because he is going to be a key to trying to slow down this 49ers offense. Let's look at some of the key matchups and just what are some of the strengths and weaknesses of both of these teams. And to me, I could absolutely see this game being one of those grinded out games, a lot of running the football. The game's just going to fly by just because when you're running the football, the clock's just going to keep moving. And let's look at some of the stats too. So if you look at the 49ers rushing offense, we are number 3 in the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals run defense is number 26. Absolutely, Kyle Shanahan is going to see that. And of course, we're going to see plenty of Christian McCaffrey. I think like last week, we'll see maybe 7 to 10 carries of Elijah Mitchell, maybe 3 to 5 carries of Jordan Mason, sprinkling 1 or 2 runs with Kyle Juszczyk. Deebo Samuel will probably get in on the action, maybe another wide receiver, perhaps like a trick play with Ray McLeod. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the 49ers are going to want to establish the run game. We're going to basically do what Arizona did to Dallas last week. We want to, just control the pace of the game, put up points consistently, and then you force Arizona to have to make some bigger plays. Now, if we look at the Cardinals offense, and their rush offense is pretty darn good, number 6 in the NFL. However, the 49ers run defense is number 3 in the NFL. So the Cardinals are going to have a tough time getting yards. And this is where it's such a key, where the 49ers are going to have to do a much better job than the Dallas Cowboys slowing down James Conner and the Arizona rushing attack. What Arizona's going to want to do is, again, what they did last week. They're going to want to control the game. They're going to want to put the 49ers in bad position where they're going to have to try and force plays. But this is just one of those games where I think it's going to be decided, unlike most games are, but it's going to be so heavily decided in the trenches. The 49ers have done a really, really good job on the defensive line. Maybe there's no crazy sack numbers, but the pressure rate has been insane by the defensive line. The offensive line, although Pro Football Focus hates the 49ers offensive line outside of Trent Williams, but I think the offensive line's played pretty darn good. And it's our starting 5. compared to last week where the Cardinals went up against, they were missing 3 starters on the offensive line. It's going to be a lot more difficult for the Cardinal defense. But I do think the 49ers are going to, because James Conner, he's a big running back. He's just physically massive. And I think it's going to be a little bit difficult. We're going to need our defensive linemen. Don't be surprised to see multiple 5 defensive linemen down, hands in the dirt. And then you allow Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw to get those one-on-one matchups and try and bring down James Conner, which I have a lot of faith that those guys can do because it is the best linebacking core in the NFL. Now, offensively, and I do think it's going to be a grinded out game, but there's no question that Kyle Shanahan will want to take shots down the field. And one of the reasons why is if you look at this Arizona Cardinals secondary, they're missing Budda Baker, and he is their guy, the guy who would all the communication back there, just making sure everyone's where they're supposed to be. He's not going to be out there. And this secondary is pretty darn experienced. If we look through their starting secondary, Keitrell Clark, the cornerback out of Louisville, he's a rookie. Then you look at Marco Wilson, another cornerback in his 3rd year. You have Andre Chachere, I believe, in his 3rd year as well. And the veteran guy is Jalen Thompson at safety in his 5th year. You compare that to the veteranship of the 49ers secondary. Deshaun Gibson's been in the league forever. Mooney Ward's been around for a long time. Hufanga, Lenore have been in the league for 3 years. So I think what Shanahan's going to do, we're going to, of course, try and pound the run game, and then we're going to take some shots deep. And don't be surprised if you see Ayuk do a couple of double moves, and Ayuk hopefully should be back for this game, and he's going to exploit that. Maybe exploit some of their aggressiveness, maybe just exploit their inexperience, and you're going to see some really interesting play calls, really interesting route combinations, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Now, overall, when I look at this matchup, I do favor the 49ers to win this game. And I think, we're going to do a prediction a little bit later, but my only real concern is that, maybe the Cardinals, and turnovers, they've been really good. A little bit less than the 49ers. If you look at the plus minus in turnovers, Cardinals +3, 49ers +4. We both have 5 turnovers on the season. We've only given up 1, they've given up 2. So if they're going to look to come in and basically try and punch the ball, they need to come in and make the big plays. They need to make the splash plays on defense, force a fumble, get the interception. So I think we can exploit that. But if we play a sound game, I like our chances a lot. Looking at it, though, my one concern is going to be that will we have one of our just typical games where there's usually one game every year where the Niners just lay an egg. So if you look back to 2019, there was a game against the Falcons at home where I don't know how we lost that Falcons team. 2021 at home against the Arizona Cardinals where they had Colt McCoy and no DeAndre Hopkins and they thrashed us at home somehow. Then you look back to last year and then at the Atlanta Falcons losing 28-14 to a not so great Atlanta team. You could argue the Bears game week 1 was another one. So I think we just have to be ready for it. The good news is with the Cardinals beating the Cowboys is that we're absolutely not going to overlook this game. Not that I think the team necessarily would overlook it, but I think that's going to reinforce that, hey, they just beat a good Dallas Cowboys team, so we have to be ready. We had the extra 3 days of rest after the Thursday night game. We should be ready to go. We had the extra time to recover, to game plan. So I do like the 49ers' chances a lot in this game. Now with my prediction, I'm going to have the 49ers winning 30-20. A little bit closer than maybe what some people might project. Vegas has it at San Francisco by 14 points, but I'm going to say we continue our 30 points per game offensively, and I think the Cardinals are going to make some plays. Maybe they get a funky, like a big kick return or something like that, but I'm going to say 30-20 to the 49ers. This game I think will be closer than what some people will expect, but the Niners will get the win at the end of the day. We'll move to 4-0 on the season, and then we have some big-time matchups coming after that. But there you have it, guys. That is my preview for the Week 4 matchup. I will be going live on YouTube maybe about 20-30 minutes before game time. We're going to be streaming the game live. Hopefully you guys can hang out. Big thing, too, is I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below about this matchup. What did Arizona do against the Cowboys that you think they might try and do against us? What can we do to exploit some of their weaknesses? I want to hear it all. Let's get a good discussion going in the comments. Also, if you guys are a fan of the content, do drop a like on the video. It just helps spread awareness. feel free to share it on social media because that does the same thing. And if you're really enjoying the content and you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel because it just helps out and it's completely free to do. So why not? But there you have it, guys. That's my preview. And before I head out, I'm going to say two things. The butt counts, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.